are these people?
So yeah, and I should have thought of this because I saw a meme with Linda here with her raised hand in blood. I should have done that for this in
Yeah.
hindsight. Maybe we could add that,
In post.
when we clip in post after we clip this. But yeah, as I said earlier, this is the idea. Once again, this kind of proves the idea of black faces in high places don't mean shit if they work for the empire. And Linda is one of them. So don't listen to all these shitty people who say, the idea of having black people in power is going to be a benefit to us, because it's not, especially if they know where their money is coming from. So this is a big story that I'm kind of surprised that no one has really talked about. But then again, this kind of came out yesterday or over Monday, and then obviously people were, talking about Assange, so which is good. But I didn't want to bring this story because actually there's a little bit more to the story, that breaking news that I found yesterday that you should know that connects to Biden in relation to this.
Well, I definitely was going to pull this as well, and you beat me to it. This story. That was really the one I was going to pull today too. So,
all right. But forward. There we go. So this story is from Common Dreams. This is written by Julia Conley. And she writes, as Israel forces fire on starving Palestinians, U.S. again vetoes UN ceasefire resolution. We should ask ourselves, how many innocent lives must be sacrificed before the Council deems it necessary to call for a ceasefire, said the Algerian envoy to the United Nations. So Julia continues. As the United Nations agency halted aid deliveries in northern Gaza, where acute malnourishment is rampant among children, citing a breakdown of social order fueled by Israel's bombardment and of the blockade on the enclave, the United States, for a third time on Tuesday, vetoed a ceasefire resolution at the UN Security Council, saying it was an inopportune time to demand that Israel end its massacre on Palestinians. Say what?
What? What?
U.S. Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield said the ceasefire resolution proposed by Algeria would negatively impact negotiations for a truce that are ongoing.
Okay.
So you could play the bullshit that she was saying here.
Yep. This was after.
After. So this was after, but
yeah. Didn't I put the before one in too? Where'd that go? I thought I put
moved it.
Okay.
No, I moved it. So it would make sense why I moved it where I did.
Okay. Let's do this. Full screen.
Intend to do this the right way so that we can create the right conditions for a safer, more peaceful future. And we will continue to actively engage in the hard work of direct diplomacy on the ground until we reach a final solution.
A what?
And what's that?
What's
that final solution?
A final solution?
Yeah. Oh.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You need Jesus. That's what you need. God.
So yeah, I don't know what that final solution is. I think.
Oh, we know. We can take some guesses.
When Palestinians are ethnically cleansed.
But
anyway, Amar Bajama, Algeria's ambassador to UN, said the U.S. ambassador's lone vote against a resolution implies an endorsement of the brutal violence and collective punishment inflicting upon Palestinians in Gaza. 13 countries supported the resolution, while the UK, which has veto power like the US, China, France, and Russia, abstained from voting. Bitches. The vote marked the third time the US has vetoed a ceasefire resolution at the UN Security Council. Meanwhile, the Biden administration has approved weapons transfers to Israel without the oversight of the U.S. Congress since the assault began in October, and has vehemently defended the bombardment as being focused on defeating Hamas, even as Israel has killed more than 29,000 Palestinians, including more than 11,500 children. We should ask ourselves, how many innocent lives must be sacrificed before the Council deems it necessary to call for a ceasefire, said Benjamin. Palestinian lives matter. Each one of us decides where to stand in this tragic chapter of history. As the U.S. rejected the ceasefire resolution, Al Jazeera reported on the chaos that has erupted in northern Gaza as Israel has blocked aid trucks from reaching starving civilians there. The World Food Program said yesterday it was pausing deliveries after crowds of desperate people overwhelmed aid workers. So I'll play that clip from Al Jazeera.
Mm-hmm.
We played something similar to this before. I think maybe like about 3 weeks ago now.
Yep.
But just, more chaos in terms of
what's happening,
the suffering there. So go ahead.
Hungry Palestinian children try to retrieve flour that has spilled on the ground. After a bag burst during chaotic scenes as thousands gathered for aid. There was not enough food on the trucks for everyone. Israel's siege on Gaza means only a limited amount of aid gets through. Witnesses say Israeli forces fired on the crowd to break it up. Collin, they fired on people picking up flour to eat.
Yeah. So sport. This is like sport for them. It's just like, oh, look at all these.
This is like hunting. Leave.
Right.
Feed. Bro.
But this sounds very intentional to me in a sense, in terms of
sure,
there's not enough food, so whatever left is that people are gonna rush for it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like
let's bomb that.
Hunting season, as you said, hunting season.
Yeah, put out the salt lick.
Right.
Bro.
But anyway, continuing with the clip, for those of you who might be listening and not seeing the text. One person reportedly died while others were rushed to the hospital.
I went down. I heard
gunshots.
We want to feed our children just like everyone else, so we went to get some flour, but then we were shot at, shells were fired, and tanks advanced at us.
Israeli forces have repeatedly fired at crowds waiting to collect aid. The UN says Gaza is at risk of famine due to Israel's war on the enclave.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, Miss Linda, what's your final solution to this?
That's what it is. Dude, that's
But anyway. Let's
one
continue.
too far. Go back one. There you go. I think, right?
Screen, please.
Oh, yeah, that would help you, wouldn't it?
The WFP and the UN Children's Fund said Monday that starvation is particularly severe in northern Gaza, with 1 in 6 children under age of 2, more than 15%, acutely malnourished. An estimated 3% of children under 2 are experiencing a severe form of wasting, being underweight for their age and height.
Which we've covered on INN News before. Hopefully I can annotate that up there somewhere. You know.
In December, 15 agencies, including the WFP, warned that northern Gaza is at risk for a famine by May unless conditions significantly improve. Oops. Oh. The United States veto on Algeria's resolution on Tuesday, said Benjama, should be understood as approval for salvation as a means of war against hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. The U.S. proposed its own resolution calling for a temporary ceasefire as soon as practicable and warned Israel not to conduct an expected ground operation in Rafah, where more than 1.5 million people, most of whom have been forcibly displaced from other parts of Gaza, are now sheltering.
Yep.
The permanent mission of Liechtenstein to the UN called on the UN General Assembly to take action to protect Palestinians. Oh, here we go. So this is their tweet that they posted yesterday. The UN Security Council has again failed in its primary responsibility to maintain peace and security due to the use of the veto. Palestinian civilians trapped in Rafah have nowhere to go. The General Assembly must now step up to protect them and uphold the Charter of the UN. Under Section A of Resolution 377A of the UN Charter, also known as Uniting for Peace, the UNGA can convene an emergency meeting and make recommendations for collective measures if members of the UNSC can't reach an agreement and fail to exercise their primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. Hossam Bagat, executive director of the Egyptian Initiative for Personal Rights, suggested the U.S. veto should trigger mass resignations of U.S. diplomats and public servants from the State Department and across the administration. I mean, it should if people had a conscience, but it's not going to. And you actually pulled this up for me.
Yeah. This is the actual veto.
Right. From Decensored News. The U.S. vetoes Algeria's ceasefire resolution at the UN Security Council, despite impassioned appeal from Algerian Ambassador Omar Benjama. Today, every Palestinian is a target for death, extermination, and genocide. A vote in favor of this draft resolution is a support to the Palestinians' right to life. Every other country voted in favor instead for the UK, who abstained. So we can see what he.
The draft resolution underscores key elements, including 1. A humanitarian ceasefire. 2nd, unhindered aid delivery to all parts of the Gaza Strip. 3rd, rejection of forced displacement of Palestinians. 4, compliance with provisional measures ordered by the International Court of Justice. 5th and last, the imperative for all parties to respect their obligations under international humanitarian law. Today, every Palestinian is a target for death, extermination, and genocide. The international community must act swiftly, as the value of ceasefire diminishes with each passing moment. A vote in favor of this draft resolution is a support to the Palestinians' right to life. Conversely, voting against it implies an endorsement of the brutal violence and collective punishment inflicted upon them. A positive vote brings hope for hundreds of thousands of children to return to school and enjoy their right to education. Conversely, voting against the draft resolution is a vote in favor of annihilating their dream for a better life. Supporting the draft resolution means endorsing the Palestinian right to food. Rejecting it constitutes, however, an approval of starvation as mean of war against hundreds of thousands of Palestinians.
I shall put the draft resolution to the vote now. Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2024/173 please raise their hand? Those against?
Bitch.
Fuck you, bitch.
Abstentions?
Oh, fuck you too. You're with your AOC absent. Bitch, you're there. We see you there.
The result of the voting is as follows. 13 votes in favor, 1 vote against, 1 abstention. The draft resolution has not been adopted owing to the negative vote of a permanent member of the council.
Bro.
See, that doesn't make sense. Like, no. How is it that the U.S. has that much power?
Power. Check. No. Empty. Check. I think that's an overwhelming majority, no?
Right. But
the U.S. stands alone in its bullshit?
No, it may have stands alone, but our vote makes the difference. That's what I do not understand.
And I bet you the UK abstained probably made that, like, possible.
Probably.
And he says every permanent member has that power. So who are the permanent members? Riddle me that.
But you can take well, actually, you know, France, to their credit, voted the right way. Like,
right. Are they not a permanent member?
China, to their credit, voted the right way. Russia, to their credit, voted the right way. So those are first world countries generally. So what gives with the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, this is some shit. Fucking, this is like coin flipping a primary type of democracy. This is some bullshit.
So India's mentioning the 7 permanent members have that power. Which countries have that power?
Right.
Like other than the U.S.
None of these are permanent?
So Nick
France, Russia, U.S., UK, Japan, Switzerland, China. So he's saying that they any of these get veto power, and even if all the other ones agree,
right?
What the fuck is the point then?
So it's basically like the first world countries have this power. So what gives them that priority? Well, we can take a guess why, but why have them given that extra power over everybody else?
Yeah. I don't know.
So in a way, it kind of leads to, you know, with honestly, like maybe let's say France, they could afford to vote yes.
Yeah.
If they knew that the U.S. was not going to vote no.
Right.
So honestly, all of them, in a sense, are fucking bastards to me.
Well, sure. I mean, this is also money based, right?
But it's like,
this is also...
you can make the argument.
Yeah,
France, I'm pretty sure would not necessarily, if push came to shove, would not necessarily voted yes. But I think because they knew that how the United States is with Israel, that they were like, I could afford to vote yes, knowing that they were going to say
so. Even out of the permanent powers, we've got Russia, France, China, Japan,
Germany's
right?
on the list.
Nick said Japan and Swiss aren't permanent members. Okay. So you still have some going yes, hopefully. I don't know. That seems weird, and definitely not the way it should work, if it does work that way.
No.
So you brought this.
Yeah. So Hossam Begat, who we mentioned just a second ago, mentioned this. I'm sure this third U.S. veto, and first since the world's top court under a U.S. presiding judge found plausible ongoing genocide in Gaza, will lead to massive resignations of U.S. diplomats and public servants, as he said before. So, and we know, that's not happening because we don't have anyone that has a conscience in power like this. But anyway.
Oh, what happened? Oh, you clicked it?
I moved it, yeah. So Al Jazeera reported that Palestinians in Gaza expressed anger over the United States' latest veto. There is a great deal of pessimism and frustration. Palestinians no longer trust the international community, as we have been hearing from locals here in Gaza. Correspondent Tariq Abdul Hazoum reported from Rafah. During the Security Council meeting, there have been more attacks on the ground here in Gaza. People here are completely frustrated, as they should be. So I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Reef. So not a total loss, because although the UN fucked up, that's not the Linda got it. She got it, like, she had some folks at Columbia University. So shout out to, Gen Z once again doing the damn thing.
Okay.
I guess she went to speak and they weren't happy with what she did. So this was, again, after the vote. So I guess within the last couple of days. So here she is at Columbia University about to give a talk. And you can guess what happens.
Delighted to be part of you and joining this.
Regulations and the conduct of the university, we will ask a delegate to now please escort you.
Lady, there's someone in the crowd talking.
You are interrupting an
lady,
academic event, and this
lady, we're trying to hear the lady.
In contrast to the university regulations about time, place, and manner. You are now going to be escorted. Okay. Okay.
So what I'd like to talk to you.
I wouldn't like to talk to you, so I wanted to hear that lady, and you didn't let us hear her, so,
About today. To start with, I visited 5 months ago a refugee camp in Adre, Chad, just over the border from Sudan, and I heard from so many people who have said to me,
this is yet again a violation of the university rules of conduct.
Fuck the
you
rules.
Are interrupting an academic
no,
proceeding.
It's not. That's no violation.
It is time for you to exit.
They have a right to do that.
Yes.
They have a right to do that.
In fact, invite them on stage, maybe, to do that. Let's see what they have to say.
This is what I believe is happening now, that because Miss Hillary got this treatment a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago now. So now they wised up. So basically, they're like, anyone who dissents gets gone.
Get them out. Get them out. Gotta get them out. Get them out.
Exit the space.
What is this, a safe space for genociders?
University rules of conduct. This is an academic proceeding, and you need to exit the space.
Academic? What are we learning? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm not sure if you guys heard that protester, but she basically said everyone who's there should be walking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like,
briefly and reconvene in a moment. We embrace freedom of expression at Columbia University. This is
only until the entire room started to do it. Right. The other two people were escorted out. Remember? We remember. Like,
violation of the university rules of conduct, as it's a disruption of an academic proceeding. Thank you for making your way out of the event space.
I mean, just this face.
Yeah.
is like pretty bad. Just that.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh God. I didn't think this would have direct ramifications for me. That's what that face is.
Right. That's it. That's enough, basically. That's pretty much it. So, but yeah, so at least, you know, at least she got it. You know, from the students at Columbia, you know, just showing their dissent and anger. Any thoughts before I continue? Because I have a little bit more.
No, I think that was very apparent. That spoke a lot. That spoke a lot.
All right. So this is kind of breaking. As I was prepping last night, I stumbled upon this. So remember how we talked about how Biden was like, "Oh, I feel empathy for you know, the Palestinians, and I'm talking to maybe, you know, to, you know, get aid and all this kind of mess that he's been saying." Right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So
don't lie.
this also is an article from Julia Conley. This came out yesterday. So after Linda did the thing and caused the veto at the UN, Biden to attend a fundraiser at home of a pro-Israel billionaire. The American Muslim community is running out of words to describe our feelings about the Biden administration's support for the Gaza genocide, says one advocate. So we continue. Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Hours after his ambassador to the United Nations vetoed the third ceasefire resolution to be proposed at the UN Security Council since Israel began its U.S.-backed bombardment of Gaza in October, President Joe Biden was scheduled to attend a high-dollar fundraiser at the home of an influential pro-Israel billionaire on Tuesday. One thing I have to say here, notice how Julia says pro-Israel. Say Zionist. That's what he is. And we'll get to who it is in a second.
So
and
is
those
Biden,
of you especially, so especially for those of you who grew up in the 90s, you'll be maybe surprised, maybe not, of the person whose house he attended.
Another thing, Mint Press has had an article about pro-Israeli / Zionist billionaires influence elections. Go check that out. Worth a read. So
right. Tickets for the event hosted in LA by media mogul Haim Saban started at $3,300 at cost as much as $250,000. So those of you who do not know who Haim Saban is, if you know Power Rangers, he is the one who is responsible for bringing Power Rangers to the US, among other of those tokusatsu shows from Japan. So the Power Ranger, used to be the Power Rangers guy, hosted Biden at an event in his house for a fundraiser.
The white Power Ranger. Emphasis on the white power. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
So, other exclusive fundraising events for Biden, who is seeking re-election in November, have been disrupted in recent months by protesters demanding that the U.S. end its support for Israel, which has killed more than 25,000 Palestinians in Gaza since October. Co-hosts of the fundraiser include attorney Cliff and Leslie Gilbert-Lurie, whose own event in November was marked by demands for a ceasefire from people in a crowd as Vice President Kamala Harris spoke. Demonstrators also displayed fake blood at the Gilbert-Lurie's home. Nicole Muchnick, a vice chair of the Anti-Defamation League, is also a host of yesterday's event. Muchnick's staunchly pro-Israel organization has frequently accused pro-Palestinian rights groups of anti-Jewish sentiment, equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. Jewish-led Palestinian rights group If Not Now pointed out that Saban has been quoted as suggesting the U.S. should scrutinize Muslims to get them to admit they are or they're not terrorists. What?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
So this was a tweet that they referenced. So there's in Haaretz, Saban said, "I'm not suggesting we torture Muslims, but they should be scrutinized." So If Not Now tweeted, "This morning, Biden vetoed a ceasefire in Gaza. Tonight, he goes to a fundraiser hosted by AIPAC billionaire Haim Saban, with donors giving up to $250,000 each."
So he stopped just after enhanced interrogation techniques.
Right. The full quote, "I'm not suggesting we put Muslims through some kind of torture room to get them to admit they are or they're not terrorists, but I'm saying we should have more scrutiny." So,
man, that's a real high frequency with that amount of dog whistle in there.
Right.
Okay.
On Monday, the group led a vigil outside the Los Angeles residence of the vice president. When sitting Shiva with grief for all those who have been killed, Palestinian and Israeli, and begging the Biden-Harris administration to end it, said If Not Now. Ahead of Saban's fundraiser, fresh outrage erupted among Palestinian rights advocates after UN Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield vetoed Algeria's resolution for a ceasefire. "The American Muslim community is running out of words to describe our feelings about the Biden administration's support for the Gaza genocide," said Nihad Awad, executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. We've talked about him before. The latest U.S. veto of a UN ceasefire resolution is shameful. President Biden should stop acting like Benjamin Netanyahu's defense lawyer and start acting like the President of the United States. We call on the American people to continue expressing their opposition to the Biden administration's support for the Israeli government's war crimes by contacting the White House and their elected officials and calling on them to demand a ceasefire, access to humanitarian aid, and pursuit of a just, lasting peace," Awad added. Any thoughts as we end here?
Nope. Sounds about par for the course. I mean, heads of football teams, multiple billionaires, they're all in the pocket of Israel. So, plenty of articles out there for you to read up on that. So, this is no surprise. This veto is no surprise.
The veto is no surprise. The fact that, as I said, I got this last night, but the fact that Biden is basically being two-faced and basically saying to the Arab community, and listening to Sabi, I think the other night, basically her mentioning, blackmailing the Arab community and basically being like, "Oh, well, if you don't vote for Biden, then, you're going to get Trump and he might deport you, or, we're going to lose more of women's rights and women and all of that stuff." Meanwhile, their families are being murdered in the Middle East, and they have not done anything. And given what we're seeing, even with aid, very little is getting in. And they're shooting them, trying to get the little food that they can get. So, but Biden just being Biden, continuing to go, I don't understand in his mind, what in the hell is he thinking? Just the optics of going to a Zionist home for a fundraiser, given what he said about Muslims, and
bro, he doesn't even know where his keys are, let alone you don't even know where, if you asked him where he's at anywhere, he will give you a wrong answer. Where are you at? Right. I don't know. Grandma's house?
Right. I don't know. Maybe you guys should also boycott Power Rangers as well, but I think
90s Power Rangers is fine. You can still watch that.
That's what he owned, though. That's what he owned, though.
I just pirated
at that time.
You know, don't worry about it. You know,
you just want to hang on to your youth. I get it.
Hey man, like, you know, it had nothing to do with Israel unless the putties were an analogy for something else. Like Rita Pulsa was a evil white lady. So, you know, like had an inclusive cast of people. No, it is kind of weird that they made the outfits to be their racial stereotypes, but you know, what do I know?
I mean, I will say this before we end, you know, like, Emmanuel, I forgot his last name, but who played Zach, the Black Ranger, and
oh yeah,
he was my favorite for obvious reasons.
You legit.
But he left he left the show early as well as the others because they were not unionized. So so Saban basically paid them like pennies.
And the two ladies were fucking put through hell. They were like gymnasts, and they were like shooting was crazy difficult.
Right.
On top of rest in peace to Tommy. He's no longer with us. You know, the green Power Ranger.
But basically, you know, like Saban, you know, like is racist and a Zionist, but he's also cheap. So you know, so you know, but my favorite Power Ranger back in the day left because he wasn't getting his money, essentially. So Saban,
good for him.
You know, but but shout out to at least the three of them of the original cast who knew their worth, and they were like, "Nah, we can't do this for pennies."
Good to know.
But anyway,
if you're listening, I'd love to have you on, dude. That's like you were pumped right into my childhood brain. I loved every bit of it. So feel free to reach out. You know, especially you, Pink Ranger. We like you. But yeah. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment, like and subscribe. You know, hit that subscribe button. Make this number go up. You know, we're trying to get to 2K. Let us know in the comment what number you get when you press the button. So ready for our next one, Care Bear, while I check Rockfin and Rumble?
Yeah, it seems like people in the chat have some connections to the Power Rangers.
Sure. I'm sure we can make things happen, especially one of those Red Rangers. I think one of the other Red Rangers was in Gay Porn, the original one. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't think that's true.
It might not be. I could be talking about my ass.
That's true. Yeah, I think that was a rumor, but I don't think that was true.
I heard about it. Oh. I did hear about it.
No, I feel like I've heard murmurings of that that as well. But I don't think that's
okay. Legit. Tommy was doing martial arts stuff before he killed himself. But anyway,